The development of modernity in Western India, particularly localized in Bombay, was to devise an artistic vocabulary and a visual language that would develop a modernism that would be very different and very distinct. This was brought about by a group of 6 radical artists who came under the umbrella of what is known as a progressive artist group, who brought out a manifesto and made clear their aesthetic agenda. Why were they considered as radicals, and why was their contribution considered to be the first of its modernist kind in India post-independence or under the post-colonial context? One needs to retrospect to the 19th century, when at that time what is known as the salon art or the academic realism was gaining dominance within the art institutions, and this was becoming symptomatic of the acceptance of naturalism in art among the public consciousness. Now, there were a lot of artists who were working in oils before 1870. But by 1880s, when the salon artist came into existence and became quite powerful, then the artistic patronage went through a radical change. To a large extent, the patronage earlier for these salon artists who painted in an academic, realistic manner was provided by the aristocracy. But by 1880s, this patronage declined radically, and the artists had to depend on the public and its public taste and opinion in order to make their art accepted and at the same time to bring about a sale of their artworks. It was at this time that these salon artists who painted in an academic realistic style were supported by an institutional patronage. So what was this institutional patronage? This was the establishment of art societies which came up in various regions across India, as in Shimla, Calcutta, Bombay and Madras. Madras was the first city where the Fine Arts Society of Madras was established. But here, mainly, it was the women amateur painters who were the wives of governors or administrators or bureaucrats of the British who participated, and there were very few artists from the Madras School of Arts and Crafts who participated in this for a very simple reason, that the institution only had a craft agenda and that there was no proper fine arts teaching. It was in one of these exhibitions held by the Madras Fine Arts Society that it was Ravi Verma who won in 1873 the gold medal and obtained his popularity here in the south. The most important of the art society was the one at Shimla, where the Viceroy's residence was, where the governors and British families and British officials and their families lived. And it is said that there is a data to record that as many as 2,000 people attended these annual salon art exhibitions which happened. But that was not the case either in Madras or in Calcutta. Calcutta was the Brush Art Club, which was established in 1889. But most importantly, it was the Bombay Art Society that was inaugurated in 1888, which was to play a seminal and a very influential role in providing a platform for the artists who could exhibit their works there. So these artists were mainly who worked in academic realism that was very much given a creative push by the society, and the artists were accepted, and if they won a gold or a silver medal, then they were lionized in the press. So at this time, there was also an infrastructure which provided support for the artists in the sense that print media like Times of India, who had as its artistic director Walter Langheimer, and its critic was Rudy von Leyden, and there was also a patron Schlesinger, and there was art historian Hermann Gertz, all of whom seem to have given a push for this, not exactly a push for this creativity in academic realism, but they provided a very seminal support to these progressive artists, particularly when they exhibited. So in that respect, with the kind of support provided by the reviews of Rudy von Leyden, it gave the public, or rather it also, formulated a public taste. Now at the same time, one must remember that JJ School of Arts was established in 1857 by the generous philanthropic donation of Jamshedji Jijabai, and that is how the school came into being. Now, this school offered variety of programs, of which painting and sculpture was one, along with architecture, applied arts. So these were the various programs that were offered, and at the same time, there was also a diploma in teachers' education, in the art teachers' education. Now, the administrators were very much interested in pushing the agenda or the curriculum of academic naturalism, so much so that a kind of a nexus had developed between the Bombay Art Society and the JJ School of Arts. It became almost mandatory that while the students at the college and who were at the school rather and who were talented, their works were being shown at the Bombay Art Society, and many of them also got recognition while still being students. While those who graduated were able to take up professional practice of portrait painting or rendering romantic landscapes in an academic naturalistic manner, or what we call it as the salon art. Now, this went on for quite some time, and the prizes that were given were divided into two main categories. Those offered to the British artists and amateur artists or the professional artists, and those offered to the Indians who were categorized as natives. Now, this was very crucial, and it is in this respect that we have some very important artists emerging in the latter part of the 19th century and early 20th century as Bomanji, Pestonji, Pitawala, M.V. Durandar, Mahapatre, who was a sculptor. These are some of the most very famous and popular names who were able to gain the patronage of the Bombay Art Society, who were able to win a large number of prizes during their lifetime and also establish themselves professionally as artists. By 1940s, the stage has reached where a stage has reached where it became imperative that some change had to happen. As a matter of fact, the decade of 1940s was very crucial in the history of Indian politics as well as culture. We know that in 1943 was the man-made famine. That was also the year when a destructive cyclone struck the Midnapur district of Calcutta. 1942 was the year of the Quit India movement. 1943 again was the year when a progressive Calcutta Association of the Artists was formed. And in 1947 was the independence that we achieved politically, and an independence that was quite bloody as a result of the partition, where there was a loss of human life, there was suffering and much of bloodshed. So it was a decade where many things were happening. There was optimism, there was a lot of hope for the future, and especially when India became independent. And it was in December, as a matter of fact, 15 December, that a meeting was held. A meeting was held by a group of artists. Now, this group of artists were Souza, Raza, Ara, and the art critic Rashid Hussain. And this meeting was also published in the papers. So what was so crucial about this meeting, and what was the fallout or the result of this meeting? It was at this meeting that Souza very candidly said that what was being exhibited at the Bombay Art Society was not up to the class, and he said it has come to his notice that the works presented there were without any character, lacked inspiration, or lacked any kind of creativity, and they were absolute rubbish. Ara here also voiced his opinion because Bombay Art Society had rejected one of his large canvases that he had painted, which was known as the Independence March. And he was very angry about it, saying that an artist must have the freedom to paint what he wanted and not to be subjected to any kind of dumbing down from above. So, Rashid Hussain also said that the old orthodox critics must get out and must provide or open up space for better writing, better understanding of visual arts. Now, as a matter of fact, that these four artists came together here, but they had already met earlier and they had decided to form a group. So there was Souza, Raza, Ara and Bakre. Then Souza had noticed Hussein's painting in one of the society's exhibition, and he decided to bring in Hussein into the group. Then Raza brought in Gade, persuaded him to join the group, and they did not want the group to be any bigger than the 6 members so that there won't be any clash of ideas or clash of styles. And it was this group which in 1947 came together and decided that it was high time that they marginalized the Bombay Art Society, which provided undoubtedly the platform for the artists, but that they were not open enough to accept freedom of expression, the rendering of emotions, or even the bold style of representation in art. Because at this meeting, this is where the various questions had come up. They all felt that there was no transparency, that it was mainly the arbitrary selection of exhibits that were selected, and that the selection panel should be an elected one and not hand-picked to serve their purpose. So all of these were the various factors that they were very much against, and they wanted to bring about a change which they thought was not going to happen very easily. And that is how these 6 artists who came together decided that they would have their own exhibition. Now the group was formed in 1947 in December, but the first exhibition happened in July 1949, and it happened at Bombay Art Society's Rampart Row. It was a place where the exhibition also happened, and this exhibition of the Progressive Artist Group became a spectacular success because of its bold and innovative style, and it was also accepted by the press in the reviews which came out. Now, this exhibition was inaugurated by Mulk Raj Anand, the author critic well known for his leftist leanings, and at this exhibition he made a remark that here is a distinct group that heralds a new vision in the history of modern Indian art. Rudy von Leyden, who was successively and consistently writing a variety of reviews from 1940s onwards, said that this was surely a very distinct group, and that this group will go a long way in bringing about an important change in the development of modernity in India. So basically, it was a struggle against bringing down the popularity of the academic naturalism which the artists were painting with a great flair and which was being accepted by the public. Now, with these reviews being published, Rudy von Leyden, to a large extent, was also responsible for shaping the public taste. And he also mentioned in one of his reviews that it was the struggle, the experiments, and the various sufferings that they had gone through that these 6 artists are standing where they are today. And as a matter of fact, Rudy von Leyden, the critic, art director Walter Langheimer, the patron Schlesinger, and Hermann Goetz, the art historian, to a large extent had served as tutors for this PAG, Artists at the Progressive Artist Group collective. So that is how we find that the radical change that came into being was the result of the manifesto which Souza formulated. He was not only extremely creative, but correspondingly, he had a powerful language and a flair for expression. So he put forth what he felt was required to bring about the change. And he says that it was with absolute freedom that they now paint content and technique with almost an anarchism, as well as, say, for a few sound elemental forms, uh, plastic coordination and color compositions, that they were able to carry it forth. And he says that at no time they wanted to revamp any art movements, that they had very closely studied the various art schools, and that they had finally arrived at this vigorous synthesis. So in many ways, we see that progressive artist group were radicals. They brought about a change mainly because they were individualist, they were versatile, they wanted to express their emotions and their sentiments in a bold manner, and which they were able to do it in a considerable manner and also achieve the success.